Good day to you, good afternoon or good evening. My name's Paul Hayden, known as Bob from Bob's Backyard, Hydroponics for Life and Dark City Radio and the Compassion Club, Santa Monteverde, which is a medical cannabis association in Spain, which I'm currently the president of, trapped in the United Kingdom due to the COVID lockdown. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about what who I am and how I've got here as a bit of an introduction. Really, I was educated in secondary school in Mosley, where I travelled quite a considerable distance every morning because I was diagnosed as being dyslexic in my primary school at Duckingfield. And it was 4 years later they got my father into school and told him that I was dyslexic, and the paperwork had got confused, so I've been travelling all that way. It was kind of like the first of the catalogue of errors that have kind of become my life, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. I was actually at that time being given medication on occasion for what was then described as arthritic juvenile arthritis, which I had in my ankles. I was given examinations and diagnosed by Harold Shipman, and that was around my first year in secondary school. And around the same time my parents actually split up and later got divorced. My father had been having an affair with another woman, and yeah, it all came to light in fisticuffs in the street. Quite juvenile really, in comparison, but mind you, I get that people do kind of get very confused with their emotional energies at the time. My mother went on to remarry and move out of the United Kingdom, and my father eventually remarried again, but he did marry the woman he was having the affair with, who died of alcoholic poisoning. Basically, yeah, she killed herself with alcohol. And left my dad in considerable amount of debt. He did then actually find it, I suppose you could call his soulmate, which he was with. She was 30 years younger than him, and she later died of cancer, leaving my father alone. I don't have a bad relationship with my dad. I have quite a good relationship with my father, but he will only actually step in when the shit hits the fan. So it's a bit weird really, why he can't assist or be part of you know, just a normal, why he's got to get into a bad situation before he believes he can have any benefits. It's one of them, if you're stuck, help me, I'll always help you out, son. I don't want to be stuck, just help us out, let's move along together, you know. So of course I'm getting on a little bit now, and I don't really need assistance from my parents, so he's kind of missed that bus, he really has. So I had one daughter to my first marriage. My wife, as I found out, had had an abortion when she was very young, and she had been sterilised at 14 years of age. Kind of 23 years of marriage, of living a lie. I didn't know about all this until afterwards, and the abuse that she'd actually gone through at the hands of the man that she now lives with. He abandoned her, basically. He got her pregnant, and which would have been paedophilia at the time. He was older than her, she was underage, and when she got pregnant he ran away. Had nothing to do with it when her parents found out. They were very Christian based, and they insisted that the only thing could happen would be for her to have an abortion. She later sexualised my own daughter because she wanted children so badly. She wasn't content with the daughter that she'd had, which is immaculate conception, and you know, there's no way she could possibly ever get pregnant, but she did have a child. She also had quite a few other issues, financial issues. She used to buy things and throw them away on the way home. And I spent 23 years trying to solve a problem which is completely unsolvable to myself. I have had my own issues, medical issues, as I say, from being 11 years of age. I've had this aching, constant aching in my ankles, which moved into my knees and then my hips. I get it across my shoulders, across my back. and in my hands, and on a few occasions I've just passed out. It's like my energy level drops and bang, my head hits the ground. I've had a couple of few injuries. My ankle, my right ankle turns inwardly for no real reason. I've snapped that on at least one occasion in Spain. It just snapped completely, and there's been several other occasions where my head has hit the ground and I've had minor head injuries. So yeah, eventually through help with friends, and again my father did actually step in and save this property. My ex-wife was trying to send me to prison for the cultivation of cannabis, where the police had raided the property, but I didn't actually live in this country at the time. I was living in a different country when this happened, and other people, I won't mention them, but other people were living in this property at that time, not myself. However, the police were quite adamant. I had Richard Perry QC, my counsellor, who investigated what was actually occurring and told me that it had nothing to do with the production of cannabis. It was all to do with Ashton Allotment Action Group, where we'd uncovered one of the largest illegal dumps, tipping, which is still there in Ashton now, that's ever occurred in the UK. It's a massive fraud, and that's what basically I've been given a punishment. So yeah, I eventually moved, set up Dark City Radio, which some of you will know me from, and this was after Bob's Backyard, which was set up with Hydroponics for Life, which was used and is now used. That the ideology of aquaponics is now taught throughout the national curriculum, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Of course, the system that they use was done by Incredible Edible, and which didn't work. They set it all up and everything died. A great sadness to the children who were involved in doing it, and I do suggest that you follow the nitrate cycle and make sure you have got that system set up correctly, as they didn't do. So another little bit of a flaw there, and they were given massive amounts of funding by the lottery. And the local council and authority. Of course, we were independent, so we got no funding whatsoever. But if you go back and check the date stamps on YouTube, you'll find out that Bob's Backyard was the first of the aquaponics systems to be set up here in the United Kingdom. Excuse me. Since I've stopped smoking, I've kind of got a bit throaty and chesty stuff coming up, which is good. It's all good. So where was I? Yes, and then from there we set up that website, which was used quite intensively by schools and colleges, and then we moved on to Dark City Radio. From Dark City Radio, which was the world's, UK's only non-corporate based radio stream, internet radio stream, and still I believe the largest and fastest growing to this day. The archive still exists, it's still there, you can go and listen to those shows. Some of them, I'll admit, are completely crazy, and some of them have got absolutely brilliant information that still stands to this day. And there's some great people on that in that time as well, and also a few crazies. They kind of come hand in hand, I suppose. That led on to the Compassion Club, where we worked with numerous people inside the cannabis community, with the potential of curing cancer with cannabis oil. And I found myself assisting in setting up an association in Spain, which I'm now the president of. I was the treasurer for a period of time, and I've been bled dry on several occasions, but I have managed to keep that going, again with very little funding and what little we had, literally. Then I did a few talks around Britain. I came to Britain and did a few talks. People had to send me shoes. I had no shoes. That's how the kind of poverty I was living in Spain to keep everything going. And again, I started to recognise what I was putting myself through. A self-abuse, really. Not intentional, but definitely I wasn't actually putting myself first. Far from it. I was putting many other things in front of myself. And that's where my story of recovery really begins. I'd recognised that I'd gone to, going back in time a little bit, while I was with my first wife, I'd gone to Boots the Chemist to get prescriptions, and it was Boots the Chemist that put up the alarm. because of the medication that I was on. There was a private prescription and there was an NHS prescription, and they've been put in at the same time or at different times, but because they didn't have one, they all got put together, and it was the pharmacist who went, whoa, you can't give somebody this at the same time. That took me then to Oldham Hospital, where it is now written on my medical records, rang his GP and asked, why are you trying to kill this man? Of course, in all fairness to my GP, he was not aware of the medications that my ex-wife was getting from the private doctor, nor was I. That was given to her to put into my food in case there was a problem. And of course there was a problem. I was living a lie. I was picking up things that were happening, and I was being told I was going crazy, I was going mad. As it turns out, all those things were true. I wasn't actually crazy and mad. I was picking them up because they were real, and it really was happening. There was fraud going on around me. There was money being taken on a regular basis to pay off massive credit card debts. I believe to pay off a partial for a mortgage as well. There was a second mortgage took out on this property I didn't even know about. And I was being kept in a drug-induced state, and like I say, and to a point where it was attempted murder on 4 separate occasions. And that was actually admitted, eventually that was admitted. I think the guilt of the situation, I believed I was a complete raving psychopath. Once the medication was removed by myself, after I went to Oldham Hospital, I was told I had 3 to 6 months to live. If I stopped taking them, you know, violently, suddenly, I just stopped taking the lot, that it would kill me, and at that point in time that would have been a relief. It really would. Not that I was suicidal, but I couldn't continue to live under that amount of medication any longer. I become to hate the person I was. So yes, I stopped all that medication, and I'm still here. Of course, this is considerable years later now. I did recover, and recently I've been assessed and I have no mental health issues whatsoever. I'm currently going under more blood tests and various other tests to find out what is actually wrong with me, and I haven't been taking any alternative treatment or treatment now for approximately 5 months, maybe 6 months. And my physical issues are starting to return, some of them getting quite severe now, but yeah, I'm getting to that again. So yeah, I then went, I was over in Spain. I used alternative treatments, an endocannabinoid, THC, predominantly THC, but from a full extraction. So it had all the cannabinoids within it, not just 1 or 2, but all of them, but with a high THC content. I'm taking this in microdosing, so it's not making me high. I'm not getting tripped out or anything like that. I'm taking them in very small amounts. I got better and better and better. To a point where I could actually operate, look after myself. I didn't need any other care, and at the same time I'm being drained dry, literally drained by people around me, all around me. I did actually remove all that, kind of a bit of a bust up, and I started to do things pretty much on my own, and again I started to recover. I came over to Spain. I learned to ride a motorcycle again. I couldn't even hold up the little 50cc moped when I first started, but I got stronger. I kept at it, I got stronger each day and moved up to a 125, and now eventually coming to the UK, passing my motorcycle test, and then riding the full length of Europe, circumnavigating from eastern Spain through Europe into Britain, back out of Britain and back through Spain, west to east coast, on a Harley Davidson motorcycle, just to prove that the treatment I was using did work. And for someone who'd been written off, you know, I thought that was quite, you know, it was quite a feat to pull off. It didn't nearly kill me, I must add. I was pretty broken when I actually arrived in Holland, but again, I made it, and I'm here to tell the story. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. It was around that time I met my second partner. I say my second partner, really is. Yeah, a lot of people kind of will look at this a bit differently. The situation I was in, I was doing great. You know, I do own my own house. I have a 23-foot speedboat. It's old and I did it up. It's not as grand as people think. But yeah, from the outside looking in, I've done okay in the material world. And I met up with a girl, came in, beautiful, wiped me off my feet, and within 12 months she was pregnant with and actually gave birth to my son, which she was going to terminate. And she'd done it before. I asked her about this and she said, you know, it made her feel terrible. I said, well, don't do that to yourself again. And she said she'd be honoured to have my son and my child, you know, it was a son then, excuse me, which turned out to be the little boy, which I'd never had. Which is quite a shame, really. Don't get me wrong, I love that little kid more than anything else on the planet, I really do. Yet, he's been used as a tool now, as a manipulative tool. Of course, I wouldn't give up on that. I would never give up on any child, as anybody who knows me knows. As far as I'm concerned, I went through that kind of twisted life as a child, and it's the last thing I would ever want to put any child through. I've had a few people turn against me during this. I really can only guess at the reasoning why, and it would appear to be financial. So just a reminder to those people who are saying that they've got post-traumatic stress disorder from being around me, then my previous wife would have been in prison for attempted murder. Admitted 3 accounts, provable 4 accounts if it wasn't for myself. I'm not quite sure why I didn't press charges, but I didn't feel it was necessary at the time. So if you are a partner now, watch out for that. I would watch out for that. She got away with it once, there's no doubt that you should probably try and get away with it again. I'm told she's very happy now, and so I'm happy for her to be happy. That's great. Just stay away from me, thank you very much. My daughter from that marriage has kind of sided with that and has tried to say that I've got mental health issues and problems, which I argue with the doctors. I can't get into this argument with people anymore. I did have problems, massive problems, brought on through the misprescribing of pharmaceuticals. That's what actually happened. The doctors all agree, hospitals agree, everybody agrees, psychologists, sociologists all agree. It's just 1 or 2 people who are trying to twist this to make a few quid or to feel better about themselves. And I would say to those people, and if you are in that situation, own it, deal with it and get over it. You can do it. I've done it. You can do it. You really can. Fortunate enough to have had quite a lot of esoterical training, meditation techniques, energy work techniques, and when my last partner actually left here, I spent 19 days in meditation, and even the mental health people have said that spiritual side of myself is a massive advantage, massive advantage. Of course, other people have tried to use that spiritual side as a disadvantage and said that crazy things about it, which is preposterous. I work on a shamanic self-empowerment techniques, which works is you working on yourself. You working on yourself. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's you. You've got to put the time in. You can get the instruction, but you've got to put it in. So actually saying this could be used against another person is preposterous, completely preposterous. So at this moment in time, I hope that gives you kind of quite an in-depth background into myself. Again, as I say, I was trained as an engineer. I've moved up through the ranks of social media slowly but surely. I am quite well known out there amongst some in the gaming community, in the non-corporate radio, and within aquaponics and hydroponics and the cannabis community. I know I've offended quite a few people. Test it or it's worthless within cannabis in the past. I know that upset quite a lot of you out there, but if you have a look what's happening today, then test it or it's not medical. So, you know, I do apologise if you got upset at these things that I've said and the way that I've put it, even though that you have implemented it yourselves now, especially within the cannabis community. They are actually implementing exactly what they said I'd upset them over. They're all doing it now. It would be nice to be credited for that, or at least not myself personally, but Santa Monteverde or the Compassion Club, the Dark City CC Compassion Club. And you can find more about us there, in fact everything about what we've done there, at cc.darkcityradio.com. yeah, I've been supported by a few people. We have got a Patreon account now. You can support us continue our work in this. I am now the experiment. I am now going through the blood tests and all the tests. Like I say, so far it's back that long-term use of cannabinoids doesn't cause any mental health or issues at all. I've been assessed and tested for all that kind of stuff. I have got a few blood anomalies which I will be having a look at in the next few days and seeing if we can remove those and carry on. I am of the understanding the National Health Service is unable to prescribe me with the medication that I was taking in Spain, the high THC full extract. And I must also mention that this was at 50 micrograms a day. That's all I was taking, 50 micrograms a day. It's a very small amount. In a capsule, in 2.5 microgram capsules. So it's not 50, excuse me, 5. Excuse me, I was taking 2.5 micrograms, so it's 5 micrograms a day, not 50, my apologies. 5 micrograms a day. 2 capsules of 2.5 micrograms of THC, plus the others which are in there, THC being the major component. So it's a small amount, really tiny amount, not enough to get you stoned or high or anything like that. And that is available here now in Britain, but only privately, not on the NHS. But I'm going through all the tests because I want to get a diagnosis. I want them to tell what's wrong with me, and I want to follow that. I don't want to be having private and NHS, as that's what happened to me before. Like I say, I don't blame the NHS for the past. That was my ex-wife that was putting those together, and once members, well, Boots the chemist, actually the pharmacist at Boots the chemist, thank you very much if you ever watched this, you did save my life. That, you know, it wasn't the NHS who did it, it was that woman who put them together who did that. So yeah, no remorse. We move along. We've got to kind of keep going with our lives, but these things do need to be known about. They do need to be shared. If nothing else, for my son, in later time, I want him to know who his dad was, what he did, and the situation that I was in. Of course, there are many people who are suffering from long-term pharmaceutical use, and if you do need any help or support, please don't hesitate, get in touch. There are groups out there now, especially if you're in the Manchester area, outside Tameside area. Manchester's pretty damn good actually, the support they've got, but if you're in the Tameside area of England, then you know you better go in on the internet and getting help that way from the private groups, because that is the best you can currently get, and that comes from the health service itself. It's very underfunded in this part of the country. Right, so yeah, don't give up on yourself ever. That's kind of my message. I have a few times, I must admit, and that's how I've learned not to. So don't ever give up on yourself. Always stay focused on who you are and what you can do. The power of the people always resides with the people. There is support out there, there is help out there. Stay focused on yourself. Become the best you can possibly do with what's available to you. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Be as honest to yourself and as truthful as you can be within this life. And know if you're divergent and you think outside the box, that's going to set you up and all that. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. There's nothing I can do about that. As I've experienced myself, I try to be as honest and truthful and speak before an event, not after an event. Gives us a chance to do things about it. It really does. So yeah, you people out there who want to put other people down to feel better about yourself, be very careful, your days are numbered. The alpha males who think they can beat down on other people and get their own way, be careful, your days are numbered. For those free thinkers who want to focus upon themselves, I would suspect that the world would become our oyster, and is doing by the day. Do not allow tyranny and fear to rule you. Do the best you possibly can to hold that focus of self-love, self-compassion and comprehension of your own life brought on through your own experience, what I would call the shamanic path. I'll shut up there now. I hope that's given you an introduction to who I am and what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to do this kind of thing on a couple of, at least one video each week, and maybe a little videos morning and evening, just to say hello and goodbye, maybe, or the news. There'll be a backdrop behind me. You won't be able to see my messy office here. You'll be able to see what I'm speaking of, apparently. Again, that's through other people who work in video production. Alright peeps, thank you very much, and good day to you all. Thank you, and thank you for the support and the Patreons. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you.